Here we are at the Agricultural and Extension Education Teaching and Learning Laboratory, and here's our tour guide walking away from us.
I'm coming in the room.
Soon to be Dr. Tiffany Drake.
Ooh, that's scary. Well, we're happy that we can work with Penn State, first of all, and several of the universities, but what I hope we'll shoot today is all the cameras here in the lab. This was Rick's ideas when he negotiated his salary here as department head. And we had a lab built. We have 5 cameras running across the front of our classroom, as well as a camera in the rear that would focus on the instructor or whoever is up speaking and or teaching, instructing, facilitating, if you will. This classroom is used as a teaching classroom throughout the year. The department facilitates numerous classes in here, as well as teaching an oral communications class where they use the cameras each week. And in here we have a DVD recorder, and so each week students will record themselves presenting their speeches to go back through and do evaluation reflection on, which helps as a teaching tool, as we all know. Okay.
Excellent.
The department also purchased 20 laptops to use for research as well. Here's one that's set up to our smart board, but as you can see we have little webcams hooked up to them, so if we want to take a really good picture of someone's face for our software that we'll see in a few minutes, we can do so. The computer will capture this data. We can bring all the computers back to tech and upload or download all the videos on the 9 terabyte storage tower that we have in order to run them through the software, analyze them, code them, conduct qualitative interviews that coincide with them, or any of our research needs that we do have.
And so now we need to go to the control room. The control room is actually in the back of the historical room, as you remember. Henry Grosclose, co-founder of the Future Farmers of America, and they have a historical room that shows some of the neat things history-wise for the organization, including, and this is cool, a table, and we're going to zoom in so we can read. At this table in September of 1925, it was determined that the boys studying agriculture should have their own organization, now the FFA. Walter Newman, Edmund McGill, H.W. Sanders, and Henry Grosclose. But so in this cool room of history, juxtaposition is the control room for this super technology. Tiffany?
So all of our cameras feed into a rack of DVRs. We have 2 out for servicing right now, so you'll see 2 voids in the system. Each DVR is connected to one of the 5 cameras in our teaching classroom, and they each have the capacity of 250 gigs of memory that they can collect data on. What we do after we record our videos is we will take them through FireWire, plug them in, and transfer all of our data to our Dell here that runs our software. When we're trying to film and we want to be able to see what's going on in the room, we can use our control panel here and either zoom in on a room, zoom in on a specific face or several faces, and it gives us a better idea of what's going on with their body language, the cues that they're giving us, things like that. So that they're really good cameras. We chose not to do high def for this project, mostly because of the cost, but number 2, we could still get really good quality video without having to pay the extra for high def. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. It's kind of like an Atari game or another kind of video game. And so we're able to just really look at students if we want to. As an observer, to enhance our research, we can look at what they're doing individually or what they're doing as a large group or a small group, if they're collaborating, those kinds of things.
Excellent.
Okay. So after we collect our video, we have 2 pieces of software that we can use here in the lab. These pieces of software are both purchased from a company called Noldus, and they're a Netherlands-based corporation, and they have offices here in Leesburg, Virginia. The first piece of software we're going to look at today is called Face Reader. And what it'll do is it'll take the 7 basic emotions that people make. I'll try to make these bigger so y'all can see them. And you can see that what we'll do when we hit start, I'll start this over, is it'll tell us the duration and the strength, if you will, of the 7 basic faces that this young lady has made for us. And it'll also get us statistical analysis on how long she made the face for, how severe, if you will, it was, and whatnot. And it'll also spit out pie graphs and other kinds of analysis depending on the kind that you would like. We can also choose to change what is being analyzed as what we're looking at. This one we can talk about her eyebrows, the shape of her eyes, her mouth. We can do frame it where it just focuses on her face as a whole, or we can put a mesh over her face that will track all the muscles in her face, and that will also put out the same output. So we can start this, maybe, yeah. And you can see in real time that it will read those things for us. The other neat thing that Face Reader will also do is we'll try and come up with demographics on the participants, ethnicity, gender, if they have some kind of facial hair, glasses, age range, if the software can figure it out. So it's a very intelligent piece of software, and it'll tell us several things about our participants. We can do standstill analysis if we just want to look at someone's individual face, not a whole video. Or we can also sync this piece of software up with the cameras in the room to run simultaneously. This would be good if we were doing a fixed image on the webcams in the laptops. It's definitely a lot harder to do, and it's almost impossible to do it with the cameras panned out. It can only do one face at a time.
Okay.
What it will do for the statistical portion of it is after it's done, it will spit out in basic Notepad all the statistics on that person's face, and then the researcher can copy and paste them into SPSS, Excel, whichever they choose, and you'll be able to run other kinds of statistical data on those.
Excellent. And so that was Face Reader by Noldus. Okay, so we just learned about one piece of software called Face Reader, and now we're going to learn about the second piece of software called the Observer.
The second piece of software that Noldus puts out that runs in conjunction with Face Reader is called Observer. And since Face Reader was really set up for just the face portion of a person, a lot of times in education we want to do research on the person's whole body. Maybe we're looking at the things that we missed, the moments that we missed, the minute details. Maybe the teacher had his or her back to the classroom, or she was working with another student one-on-one. You know, all those things that sometimes we do miss because there's only one of us, and oftentimes there's 20 or more students in our classes. So Observer is set up as an independent, dependent variable kind of piece of software. And what we can do is we can go through, I chose offline today because we have a lot of pre-done videos that we've done in other research projects here on campus, in our department, collaborations with other departments. And what we're going to look at today, just for the 25-cent tour, is some pig video that our colleagues in animal science are working on. So we'll set up an observation. We can talk about participants or subjects as Observer gives them, and we can look at individual students in this case, and then their individual behavior. So we earmark 2 students, 45 and 97. You can name them whatever you want here in the software, and it always assigns each student or each participant a keystroke that comes in handy later. Then we chose to look at some different behaviors that students make. Our big behavior group was note-taking. A lot of students take notes in our classes, doesn't matter if it's post-secondary or secondary. And then we added 3 things in this particular, that they'll do while they take notes. Writing, tapping the utensil, or doodling. You can think of a million different things. And each one is given also a keystroke that we can change, maybe not today, if we so choose to. So you can see we have mutual exclusive things between keystrokes and participants that we're using for our experiment. So these would be considered dependent variables. Our independent variables are things that we need to have all the time. We always talk about in our research here on campus about reliability and validity. So a lot of times we'll set up an independent variable that has to do with who was coding the video. Was it male or female? Was it myself or Daniel or Dr. Moore or someone else? And so when we go back through to run the statistical methods to increase the validity, we can go back through and say, everyone was a really good researcher. They found similar traits in the videos, but for some reason Tiffany didn't see them. She only saw about half as many as the other researchers. Why? So it just helps our case. We can do all kinds of other things as well for independent variables. Okay. So just as a piece of sample video that we have on here on the hard drive of this computer, as I said, our friends in animal science are doing some swine observations actually on sows and their behaviors that they exhibit. The takeaway here is you can watch this as slowly or as quickly as you want to catch those brief observations that you may make. Maybe it's someone's facial expression. In this case, it's what the pig is doing.
June 27th, 2010, first day, exercise, session 1, 9:18 a.m.
Okay. So if I want to say that pig 45, let's say I name that pig 45, did something, I hit keystroke 4. You'll see that it stops the video, even though it's fake and I know she's out of the picture now, and then it automatically moves to what behavior, pigs can't write, but what behavior was she exhibiting in this particular case. Let's say she was writing, I would hit the W and it starts again. The video starts as soon as you're done. If you need to slow the video way down, you can. Now it looks like the movies. But if you need to, maybe pig number 97 now exhibited a behavior and maybe she was doodling. And again, you'll see it start the video. If you want to run it full speed again, or you can make it go really fast because you're just trying to get to a particular point. Okay. So you'll see you have an output. There's not very many. This is just an example. The other neat part of this, let's see if it'll do it. I might not do it today. You can run 2 pieces of video side by side. So for education, we would run what the student is doing and then what the instructor is doing. And maybe at a particular point, I know 6 minutes into this lesson, we're going to have our instructor make a dirty joke, for example. The instructor makes the dirty joke. We fast forwarded both pieces of video. What kind of student response would we elicit off this inappropriate or off-color joke that the instructor makes? So you can see there's all kinds of capabilities as far as their behaviors and modifiers.
Awesome.
I don't want to do that. Just kidding.
So imagine if when we were watching the videotape for the data set that each behavior was one of the principles teaching learning with a keystroke, and we could have watched a video through that. Alright, thank you very much, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
We were told that the software packages together cost $10,000 a piece. Is that correct, Tiffany? But we can get a companion license and work on a research project and get one of these things that's called a dongle for, and a quote is being written, but we believe approximately $2,000, which will allow for the video to use the observer for someone to do data analysis in State College or Columbus.